Why are we doing that? And I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think there's this underlying fact that we motivate ourselves with negative reinforcement, with negative self-talk.
You said what you said.
I did. I didn't even know where it came from.
That was the fact that you took that from a ball sack. Willie Nelson's ball sack is amazing. I love this. Hi, welcome to Simply 1%. I'm Wendolyn Pascal, a life development coach who helps people better understand themselves and others through the framework of motivational gifts. And my co-host is Meredith Richards, a licensed marriage and family therapist and communication coach. We're just two people who don't have life completely figured out. What we have gained is perspective along the way through giving ourselves grace and extending that grace to others. We're here to encourage those 1% shifts that over time can lead to meaningful transformation. Maybe that's through asking better questions. Maybe that's laughing at ourselves when we need to. Maybe that's taking ownership or simply seeing things through a different lens. That journey looks different for everyone, but we're here for it. So grab your cup of coffee, fold your laundry, go for your walk, or let us be your passenger on your way to work, and get ready for what feels like a free therapy session in every episode. And one more thing, if you're listening to us on one of our other platforms, we would love for you to join us on YouTube. That's where we're putting most of our energy these days. And if you like the conversation that you hear today, hit subscribe and come hang out. All right, let's get into this simply 1% at a time.
Welcome back to Simply 1%. We are back together today. So exciting. Doing the solos was just a new thing for both of us, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, good as in I don't want to do it again, but
yeah, I mean, we just have such a good camaraderie in the way we balance each other, and we hear that feedback all the time from you, which thank you very much, listeners. And Wendolyn, what is our topic today? What are we doing?
We're going to talk about you can convince yourself of anything.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. Definitely. I just had 2 sessions today, and it's interesting that we can convince ourselves of and say just to keep ourselves safe, right? To keep ourselves safe, we want to convince ourselves of something.
To get what we want. Or to be avoidant. Yeah, all the things.
Well, we're going to talk about a lot then today. I can't wait.
We are. Get ready. Buckle up, buttercup.
So if you're joining us for the first time, I'm Meredith Richards, licensed marriage and family therapist and communication coach, among other things. Just do whatever you need, really. I meet you where you are. And Wendolyn, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Wendolyn. I'm a discernment coach. So I'm here to say, what do we need to look at to get your life together?
I look to Wendolyn for all the wisdom. Yes, she's the wisdom guru for all of us, and I appreciate that with her. So you had a great story, Wendolyn. Let's just jump right into this. You had a great story about how you keep on talking about your sister and how she can convince you of many things, and I feel like this is just a theme for you. So why don't we just start there?
Listen, my sister and I spent much of our childhood just by ourselves together. So many things came about. We talked about the fact I dressed up as a prostitute for Halloween. We've talked about many things. And I was like 8 years old. So my sister and I, she had convinced me. She laid up all of our Cabbage Patch dolls in our room. And she was like, Wendolyn, if we leave the room for like 10 minutes, these Cabbage Patch dolls come to life and they do things. So we would leave them for 10 minutes. So my sister would run upstairs, change their movements, put food up there. Oh, yeah. Belinda was busy and she was doing all of that. And then I would come up and be like, they're alive and they're going to kill us in the middle of the night. They're going to get up and they're going to kill us. That's what's happening. Murder by Cabbage Patch. That's what's happening.
Murder by Cabbage Patch. That'll be the title
it turns
of our
out
episode
Belinda
today,
had convinced herself of it. She was the one doing it. She was the one moving them around. And somehow she got so involved that she was like, they are alive.
She started to convince herself.
She's like, Gwendolyn, I moved them, but I didn't move them like that. Or I did do that, but I didn't do that. And so she got freaked out. She freaked herself out. You know, when you're about to scare someone and then you get freaked out as a kid? I did that a lot. I'm like, oh, I'm going to scare them. And then I'd freak myself out because I don't know how that happened. It just reversed. And the reason I started thinking about this week is because I had convinced myself I didn't need a face routine. I'm just like, I don't need it. I'm good. I feel like I'm aging pretty well. I stay out of the sun because I'm a vampire. I hate the sun. And then I took a little bit of a deeper look. I got a little too close to the mirror, put my glasses on, and went, dear heavens. This is all avoidable. Some of it. Most of it, really, because I've just neglected myself. And when I talk about just taking a good old ivory bar of soap and putting it on at night, if I don't jump straight up into bed after brushing and flossing and be like, it's fine. Washing my face is overrated. No, ma'am. I saw some things. I went straight to Amazon and ordered collagen, all kinds of things. So I had convinced myself that I'm aging pretty well without really looking a little deeper into the situation. Then when I really was like, because my cousin came to visit, she hasn't aged in like 20 years. I'm like, what's going on with that? She goes, I have a face routine. I'm like, face routine? Blah, blah. Well, guess who's got a face routine now, people?
Listen, it makes a difference.
It does make a difference. And and it's not, people are like, yeah, why wouldn't you have face routine? Those are neurotypicals. Those are people who think in a way that I do not. I will stay up till 1 a.m. and not go to bed just thinking that I have to get up and brush my teeth and lock all the doors, just do all my routine. Yep. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
So this is a big thing for me. I've got to start accepting the truth. The truth.
I know. The transition of life when we do start recognizing how old we are, and it's biological. I mean, we can't really slow it down. I know some people say that we can take those shots. You know, we're going to live forever. I don't know, freeze yourself. I have no idea what people are doing. Talk about convincing yourself. Like, what?
No, listen, I did not know that aging required me to have something that looked like a ball sack under here. I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? I have a ball sack under my chin.
You realize by saying that's all people are going to see now. Okay.
Well, welcome to my world, because I looked a little closer and I went, what is this? And I started looking at all this. I was like, and I heard someone say, it's called a turkey neck. I said, I wish mine looked like a turkey neck. It looks like a ball sack. And so here we are, ball sack neck and everything. I mean, it's getting hot in here. It's getting hot in here.
I don't know where to go.
So take off your cardigan.
I usually can take a scenario like that and turn it into something wonderfully therapeutic. And actually I can.
No, it is therapeutic because it's called laughter. It's called laughter.
But let's talk about the theme here. So, Wendolyn, you have convinced yourself that you have a ball sack underneath your face there. I mean, you have chosen that word. You've chosen that word dramatically to motivate yourself to do the thing.
I like where this is going.
That's what you did.
Yes, I did. I convinced myself of the ball sack neck.
And why do we have to choose something so negative in order to motivate ourselves into the thing that we think we need to or want to do?
You're so right, Meredith. This is great. How did you do that with a ball sack? And listen, I had a foster dog who I loved so much, but he wasn't neutered yet. And he was an old hound, and his ball sack was large and long and stretched. And that's all I see. I'm not talking about a human ball sack. Can we talk about that real quick? I'm talking about this dog that I fostered, and I named him Willie Nelson. And all you could see was the ball sack. And when they neutered him, they left the ball sack. They left the skin. And that's all I see. Okay.
All right. You got to turn that around. You got to turn that around.
You're right. So I don't have to take it to that extreme is what you're saying.
Yes. Yes.
Wow, I love that.
And people, you know that you do this. We do this. I don't know if the way that we convince ourselves, Wendolyn, that we're just like, oh, did we really even say anything on that podcast? We can really talk about that sometimes. And we're like, we convince ourselves that, I don't know, that wasn't that great. Why do
Yeah.
we do that? Why are we doing that? And I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think there's this underlying fact that we motivate ourselves with negative reinforcement, with negative self-talk.
You said what you said.
I did. I didn't even know where it came from.
That was the fact that you took that from a ball sack, Willie Nelson's ball sack, is amazing. I love this.
I think
You're
one day
right.
we need to play a game where you just like throw something out there and I will just continue to turn that around.
We're doing that game. Absolutely. I mean, that's some kind of Harry Potter magic right there. That's like Zoom. I love it. You know, it's true. You think about that in your whole entire life. Wearing a bathing suit on the beach, I'm like, everybody's looking at me.
Yeah.
I make it so dramatic to be, nobody's looking at me.
Nobody's
Caring. And they are looking at my husband because he looks like Jason Momoa, but they're not looking at me. They may look at me and be like, oh, she's playing with her children.
You have a decoy.
They're not looking at me
don't
going,
have to worry about it.
Look at them wobbly bits. They're looking at me going, she's playing with her kids. Next.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. This goes with what we say with you have options. What are we going to convince ourselves of? You know, like also the way that we convince ourselves too is by being completely avoidant, by like saying like, oh yeah, I have enough money in my bank account, or like I'm going to make more money next week or in 5 years from now. Like I'll have this. I can spend this money now because in 5 years, you know, I'll make up for it. Whatever it is. You choose your timetable, okay? But why do we convince ourselves of that? It's just like avoiding reality. How does that work out? How's that work for you guys? You know, avoiding the reality. So yeah, there are many different ways that we convince ourselves in order to justify and get exactly what we want.
Yeah. It's so true.
You know, one of the things you've convinced yourself of a lot because you have a very active imagination.
I do. And for someone who doesn't see pictures, it's amazing that, yeah,
you really do. And, you know, we create a whole story. We create a whole narrative when we have to fill in the blanks. When you start dating, we've had clients like this, right? I mean, we've probably been there ourselves. When you start dating and you're trying to figure out the other person, especially now with texting and everything, like, oh my gosh, they didn't text me back. You convince yourself of a lot of things there.
If you
they're
leave
not
a blank,
interested, they're dead. You know, oh my gosh, they're in a different relationship. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
We fill in the blanks. And yet, you can also have perspective and you can say, well, they're really busy. They have an interesting life. I'm attracted to that. Right? We have options. We can convince ourselves of that. So we're creating a story all the time in our heads. And you can choose which story, you can choose which way it's going to go. You know those teen magazines we had back in the day where I'd asked a question and it was like yes or no or yes or no, right? We got to choose. We got to choose like which way we wanted to go with that, you know? Well, what kind of outcome did we want? And then we just manipulated that to get to that outcome.
Yeah. What you're saying makes so much, like when Joe and I were first married and we were so broke that I remember doing our budget one time and we had 77 cents left over. And that was like, we would convince ourselves that we could go to this brewery in the mountains. And just because we love their nachos, we would drive 45 minutes to get there. Devil's Backbone, Virginia, Nelson County. We would go up there and get a big old plate of nachos. Didn't share it. Nope. One for him, one for me. He'd have a couple of brewskis. And $75 later, we're putting it on the credit card. And we're like, we'll just pay it off this month. If you want to talk about convincing yourself, those credit cards. I said, Joe, that meal, when we finally paid off all of our debt, I was like, that meal ended up being about $650. All those meals ended up being so much money. He's like, you're so right. We had convinced ourselves otherwise because we wanted something that very moment.
Mm,
That very
right.
moment.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's where it
Again.
comes from. And you say it enough too, you'll believe it.
Just like that neck.
Just like the neck.
It.
Just like
You
my
believe
sister was
it.
the one up in the middle of the night worried about the Cabbage Patch doll waking up and killing her when she was the one moving them. She did that and had convinced herself because she was so busy convincing me. How many times have we done that? We're trying to convince somebody of something, even manipulating them in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up believing it ourselves. We're like, yeah, well, why not?
Or any old story that we're hanging on to because it works for us.
Oh, I like that.
Like, I need to hang on to that story of that person being so mean to me in the second grade. And it was a trauma for me, whatever it is, right? And the teacher didn't care. And I could go on and on and on. And we hold on to this story that we convince ourselves that defined us in this moment. And we're choosing still to be defined by that and convince ourselves that that's exactly who we are now when we've spent years of development in between.
Yes.
I'm not the same as a 6-year-old. Like, it's true that we stop sometimes in development when we experience something and when it's a shock to our system. True. And we are given reason and experience from that time to create our own story and to figure out if we want to hang on to that thing that somebody else told us that we are, or if we want to change it. Like, actually, I'm not like that. Or actually, yeah, I was the teacher's pet and I was the favorite student and I was a little bit annoying. Why did I have to be right? And why did I have to get everything done so quickly and be the first? Because that is how I could feel good about myself. So they weren't wrong. I could have now a different perspective on that. And I can convince myself of that person being mean to me. Right. And that's where all this came from. Or I could say, well, for a 6-year-old, they actually were pretty good. Yeah. They read it right. They read the room. Literally, they read the room.
Yeah.
I was doing that. So this just goes, I think convincing goes to a narrative. I really do. I think it just goes to a narrative of, what do I really want in life? And this is what I say. I say to clients, well, try it on. Try it on. Try that idea on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't really like my job. And here are all the reasons. I don't really feel valued. I deserve to be in a different position. Now you're going to look for other jobs then, right? That's an option. So I'm looking for another job and I found something that I like. And there are some things that don't add up, but you know what? In my mind, I'm going to try it on as this is something that I could do. I'm going to live in that way and I'm going to move forward and go through those doors. And if it continues to move, then that's it. That's, I don't have to actually even convince myself. I can be in process and let that, what ends up, do the convincing.
Yeah.
Why do I have to like we talked about that, like the negative, why does that have to be the motivator to convince us? We all do it. You do it.
We all do it. We all do it.
Why can't it be positive reinforcement?
Yeah, positive reinforcement. That, especially with somebody like ADD, Meredith basically threatened me and was like, you need to get your book done by this time. If Meredith was like, Wendolyn, your idea is so cool and popular, you really should get your book done. I'd be like, oh, thank you for loving me. And I would have never written a page. But she told me the other day, she was like, it better be done by this date. I was like, I'm in trouble. And I started concentrating hard on my book. And with ADD, that's like, so sometimes we need that little
We do.
But why is that? Why is it's like, and Meredith knows me. She's like, she has to be a little bit in trouble for her to do this. And she's
Yeah,
right.
you did. You do and you did. And it's worked. It has worked.
I have been working hard on it too. But I think a lot of times convincing ourselves of things, who's really prone to this? We're all prone to it. Trust me. I kissed a toothless man at 12 years old. Sucked his face right off.
Stop it. I can't.
I know.
I can't. I can't. The life
the life that I've led. I've led 10 lives. 10 lives.
The
Zero supervision.
Can we even call it a childhood? I don't even know. At this point, like, what was that?
Oh my gosh. I told my husband that story the other day. He goes, wait, I don't remember this. I said, you don't remember the man from Argentina who came off the Navy ship in Baltimore at the Inner Harbor? And I French kissed him at 12 years old. He was 22. He's like, I don't remember this. I said his name was Gustavo. And my mom, Carmen, y'all have heard stories about her, was sitting there witnessing the whole thing. Yes, ma'am. He had 0 teeth in his, he had like 3. I convinced myself because he was hilarious. This is all okay. I'm like, oh, he's older. He's in the Navy. He's cool in a white uniform. And I French kissed this man. What we convince ourselves, people are like, Wendolyn, your life. Yes, ma'am. And this book that I'm writing is not about my life. Trust me. Maybe I should. Maybe it would be a bestseller. But
it is fascinating. There is
fascinating. But
high degree of fascination,
anything, especially when you're young. And people who are most prone to this, I will say, I'm going to dare to say, we're all prone, but the people who are victim mentality, right? We convince ourselves that we're the victim of everything. And so everything, looks a little different to us. So that's something you might want to look at. Do I play the victim a lot, so therefore have convinced myself of certain things in relationships, in my life? I can't get the job because I have a ball sack neck. Like whatever it is that you have, you have to look at why you're convincing yourself of these things. Is it avoidance? Right? That's another thing.
Is it also because you don't know what's out there and you don't have options,
ignorance,
and you're not seeking it too, right? Some of us do live in a world of limitations for various reasons, right? And so we convince ourselves that this is the way it has to be and this is the only way to do it. Just a general example of you go to college, you get a job, you buy the house, you get married, you have kids, you do all the things, and that house becomes an investment and you live in the same place and you have to have that security. And well, that is an option. It's just, that hasn't been for me. That's not my personality. I can't do that. You love that. You love that. But that fits your personality. You're not just doing it because that's what we were told to do. And yet, how many of you are on this treadmill of life because you have just been convinced that this is the life that you're supposed to live?
Yeah.
It doesn't take somebody saying something to you to convince you. It's just what you observe sometimes too. Like, this is just what everybody else was doing around me. So why wouldn't I do that? Because you can do other things. There's a whole world out there.
Yeah. And, I don't want to have ball sack mentality because I don't. Listen, what you're saying, it just hit something for me. I'm like, I could sit here and convince myself of anything. And that's on me. But then who am I convincing around me? That is a responsibility I hold as a mother. Who, because of what I've convinced myself of, now how is it translating to my children? I don't go around telling them I have a ball sack neck, but there's other things that I've convinced myself of, right? I'm going to just call it ball sack mentality that I have.
Do we have to? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if
I've convinced myself of certain things, but I can also convince them of it too, just by the way that I verbalize things.
Listen,
right?
Yes, because how many times have we heard about the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we see ourselves is the way that, well, everybody sees us, but for kids, it's the way they start talking about who they are. So if I am very difficult on the way that I look, right, it's absorbed in a child, and they start looking at themselves that way. And we don't want them to. Like, you're a beautiful, innocent, little human.
Absolutely.
And we're like, but don't talk to yourself that way. And yet we do.
We do.
That's the thing. Like, this is such a powerful topic because we're talking about the decision making that you have, the control that you have to change the narrative, to change the way that you motivate yourself to do the thing that you want to do, and you've convinced yourself that you can't.
Yeah.
Well, I can't leave this relationship. I don't have this. I need this. All of the things that go through our heads. I was having a conversation with a friend, and I said to her, how is it that this position you're in is a position that somebody else has been in, the exact one, and they have figured it out to not live in this place anymore, and you don't think that you can? You have the same amount of money, the same scenario. I'm serious, like the same scenario, and they have figured it out. So if somebody else can do it, you can learn to do it. You can, yes, personality is involved, or the support that you have. Well, find a reason to do the thing that you want to do instead of finding the reasons why you can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, look for reasons why you can.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes me different, honestly, than most people. I've realized that I really look for ways to get something done, to get the most out of life. Like, and it's not the positive thinking. It's, I would love to live this type of life. How do I do it? And I look for ways and reasons to do it instead of, and does that get me in trouble sometimes? Yeah, we've heard about Meredith. We've heard about her.
Meredith gets to going, and you're like, I need you to calm down, Schmer.
Listen, talk about convincing yourself of things. Oh.
Hey, real quick before we jump back in. If you're enjoying today's conversation, we'd love for you to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. And if your platform allows it, leaving a rating or review is one of the best ways you can support the podcast and help more people discover these conversations. And if someone came to mind while you're listening today, we'd love for you to share this episode with them. You never know when one conversation might help someone feel less alone. All right, let's jump back into today's conversation.
Maybe the chemistry I have with someone is just meant to be for that time, and not this chemistry that I think is going to last forever, and therefore I choose the wrong person. That happens often. How many times do people convince themselves that they're in the right relationship because they don't want to be lonely?
Yeah, fear.
It's
fear.
Because you don't think you're going to get somebody else, because fill in the blank.
Well, and Meredith, you're sitting here talking about this, and that's exactly what was going through my mind is Meredith has convinced herself of many things. And let me say this.
Just can't wait to see where this is going.
I feel like we need to look at the other side of this. So we can also convince ourselves of really good things. It could be a motivator. And so, for example, Meredith can be like, yeah, I've got to use the bathroom, so I'm going to go into this really fancy hotel, and I'm just going to act like I belong here. And they're going to let me go in. I'm going to use the bathroom, might even grab a cocktail, and it's for VIP only. And Meredith will get away with it. She'll convince herself, I just tell myself I belong here. This is what I do. I get myself my cocktail, use the bathroom, get the VIP treatment, and she walks out. I would never get away with that because I'd have a sweat stash before I even walked in. They would know this girl's nervous. She's committed a crime. You can tell by the way she's acting. I'd have guilt written all over me. Meredith has convinced herself of things to be a motivator sometimes. And sometimes I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's when fear is also linked to it and we've convinced ourselves of things and fear's the motivator. Right. And I'm not saying you guys should walk into fancy hotels and pretend that you're Princess Diana. What I am
Why
saying,
not? Try it on.
You do have to look at why you're convincing yourself. Is it fear behind it? Is it anxiety behind it? Which is usually always linked to fear. What is the motivator behind convincing yourself?
Yes.
Do you know how many relationships we've seen before marriage and after marriage are like, these things are happening. It was the same things that were happening in your relationship before marriage, but you convinced yourself that it would change. You convinced yourself if you did all the work, then the person would change. We see that so often. You knew that person, you married the person right in front of you, like Meredith says.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of you. That's the person you're marrying. That's them. Put your finger right on them. That's them. That's what you're doing. You're marrying them.
Yes.
Not the person you want them to be. So you've worked really hard at convincing yourself that if you did all the work, they would eventually catch up. They would eventually do exactly as you wanted them to do. And it's a control thing, right? Because of fear. And it doesn't go so well. Like, I just didn't see this coming. You did. You did see it coming. Or they didn't cherish you while you were dating. Or they didn't take your bids. Or they didn't, whatever it is, you saw it. You convinced yourself that you could change it or that they would change once the marriage certificate was signed.
Yes. Yeah. And also, you're right. I mean, preach. You did. And you also convinced yourself that whatever the thing was that you did see, you could live with it. It's not that big of a deal. It wasn't a priority for you. It wasn't on your list. So I don't really like that, but there are all these other things. Well, little did you know that thing that you don't really like actually still stays with that person and it just continues to grow and grow and grow, especially if it's a value or character flaw. That just keeps on coming to the light.
Yeah.
It's still a part of that person. So we convince ourselves, oh, I can live with all of that. I can live with the fact that they love hot weather and love going to the beach for their vacations. And I can go and do that every year. I can, there's no, I can't actually. No, that's not going to be for me. I can convince myself, I can motivate myself. I can get myself to a place to pretend that I'm living this life that I've always wanted, yet that is not what's right in front of me. I have got to live in an alternate reality in order to survive.
Yeah.
Some of you do. Because you learned that. You couldn't live in the environment right in front of you. Because it wasn't great. It wasn't a good place.
Meredith, I remember a time where you helped me with this. I was not going to marry this person. It was this guy, blah, blah, that I dated. And we were not compatible. Not the same morals, not the same values. Like, just not compatible at all. I thought he was funny, and that's where it happened. If I thought someone was funny, I mean, toothless man, for crying out loud, I was 12. So anyway.
You didn't know.
I didn't know. If someone was funny, I was like, oh. Do you remember Kevin from King of Queens? I was like, I 100% had a crush on him. Why?
Yes.
Funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one time I was dating this guy. It was just kind of like a blimp. It was a speed bump. Anyway. And I remember I knew I was
a blimp.
A blimp. A blimp? Is it a blimp? What is it in your life?
A blimp.
Something.
A blimp.
A blimp.
I usually don't call you out, but like it's
call
just really
me
funny.
Out.
And
call me out.
And I'm not correcting it to be like, duh. It's great.
Do it. Do it.
Because we're now calling it a blimp.
Through life and I'll say blimp again to somebody. I need someone to be like, it's not that, by the way. My husband's really good about that. He's very tender and he's like, well, I don't think that word means what you think it means. But anyway,
See, you can even convince yourself of that. I am saying the right word. I know that's what it is. How many times do we get into that? We double down and we're like, no. I did that
last episode. I said hoity-toity. I meant to say hoity-toity. I said hooty-tooty. Like, I do it all the time. I do it all the time. I always say it's because I'm bilingual and people fall for that. I'm like, it's because I'm bilingual.
It's true, though.
Oh, so then it's kind of manipulative because I'm like, I'm bilingual. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're so
just
smart.
Convincing people,
I'm like,
yeah, it's fine.
Anyway, but there was this guy that I was dating and I knew in my heart I was not going to marry this person. This person was not good for me. I was done. But you know what I did have? I had a really good friend who asked really good questions. And I asked myself, like, oh, Wendolyn, can you really see yourself with this person? And I kept telling myself no, but it was internally. And I remember Meredith and I had just gotten a coconut coffee in Connecticut.
Love it.
I went to go see her. We're riding around in her Subaru with the windows down and that crisp Connecticut weather. And we got ourselves a coffee riding around. And Meredith goes, so, can you see yourself marrying him? And immediately I said, what did I say? 1,000 things would have to change before I married that person. Mm-hmm. At that moment, I stopped convincing myself that maybe I could ignore some things. I knew I couldn't. Internally, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be with this person. But it was because of a good question from a good friend, someone that I trusted, saying, can you see yourself marrying this person? Heck to the no. I did not want to marry. I didn't want to even sit next to this person, much less marry them. And I'm like, no, 1,000 things would have to change. And I had stopped convincing myself that I had to make it work.
Yes.
I had this thing with like, if I commit to something that I got to do, and I'm, okay, it's not in this situation. That's not for always. Yes, great quality, blah, blah. Not for this. You got to backtrack and say, what have I convinced myself of here? What was it that, what am I holding on to? I've convinced myself that I could ignore lots of things. Yeah, I didn't do that anymore. That was it. I was like, now I'm down the road to redemption. You know why? Because I immediately, you know what song went through my head? I was like, I look so dumb right now. Because I was like, I look so dumb.
What is it? Standing inside my house. I don't know. But that's where I get the words wrong. I don't know lyrics. I just make them up.
Well, I just make them all about me because it's never, I look so dumb right now. She's like, you look so dumb right now. I'm like, I look so dumb right now. Like, and that is how I felt. I was like, Wendolyn, you look dumb. Dumb. You need to get out of this relationship.
It's just so funny, like thinking about like both of us singing. I mean, it's such an ADHD thing. And I was thinking, okay, we can convince ourselves of limitations based on our diagnoses, right? Like, oh, I have ADHD. I can't do that. You know, I suffer from depression. I can't do that. Now I have a physical disability. I've always been able to walk. Now I can't do those things. Some things you can't, yeah. But have you seen the most inspirational stories out there when people do have less functioning than the normal human being and they're out there doing a marathon or something? Like they're playing basketball, they're climbing I mean, it's fascinating to me that you can say these are my limitations and then there's somebody out there who has limitations and they don't even look at it like that. Now they look at it as a way to conquer something, to challenge themselves, to prove to themselves that you don't have to live in this idea that other people convince you of. You're going to actually show them that they're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to... am I making sense here? Like, I am... How many of you are fascinated by those inspirational stories? Like, just you feel it to your core. Why does that make such a difference inside us when we see like the underdog or when we see the person who shouldn't be able to do the thing that they do? Why? Why does it make such a difference to us? Because we live in a place where we have convinced ourselves that it's not possible. And then that person shows us, oh no, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. You just thought that it wasn't.
Yeah.
Love any of those stories.
So let's talk about the 1%.
Mm.
In this whole thing, my 1% in it, because let's not pretend that I'm out of the woods. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking ball sack neck here. So this was the other day. This was 6 days ago. None of us are immune to this of convincing ourselves of something. And why does it have to be to that extreme? Like Meredith was talking about. I love that. Meredith, you need to do a whole podcast on that, just talking with your Meredith Streep voice and just let people listen to you. My question would be, am I convincing myself of something? Just asking this question. Am I convincing myself of something because I don't want to see the truth? What am I afraid of? What is the fear behind this? What truth am I running from? If I accept everything about this person, great, I can continue and get married. If I don't, it may end the relationship and I may not get married. And then my dream is shattered of being a wife and a bride and a mother. What is keeping you from really pursuing the truth here? What fear is linked to that? That's a big 1%, and I'm sorry, but that to me, looking in the mirror and seeing myself age, I'm like, why am I so afraid of this? And I usually am not, right? Like I asked my husband just out of curiosity, I'm not into Botox, but I'm like, what would you think about me just getting Botox right up here? He's like, don't you dare. I help create those wrinkles by laughter and a good time. Don't you dare cover them up. I was like, oh my goodness, you're so sexy right now. But what fear was I experiencing? Right? I'm getting older. It's showing. I'll tell you what also motivated this is because I did this AI video of me turning into a Viking and she didn't have a wrinkle on her face. And I thought, oh heavens, that's not what I look like. And so it spurred this whole thing as well. So what was I afraid of? I was afraid of looking different. I was afraid of aging. And I was also disappointed in myself because I hadn't been taking care of myself. That was a big thing for me. I was like, Wendolyn, you've wasted so many years of just neglecting yourself.
So how are you going to turn that around, Wendolyn? I'm challenging you right now. Like, so what's going to be your motivator and how you're convincing yourself now? You didn't do the things and now you're doing the things. So what is that? What's that motivator going to be for you?
The motivator is not going to be the ball sack neck. And I'm not even going to call it a turkey neck. The motivator now is going to be just be good to yourself. Just be good to yourself. You don't have to be 20. You don't have to look 20, but just be good to yourself. Because you did create these wrinkles, not just with neglect, but with laughter and in the sun with your kids, having a good time. All of these things, they are what creates your face, what creates these expressions, these lines that your expressions make. You've lived a really good life, Wendolyn, so don't be so hard on what your face is expressing. You've lived through these. And so I just want to be good to myself. You know, I'm probably still going to make fun of my neck a little bit just to be funny.
But humor's good. Humor's good.
Humor is always good.
It's always
good. Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah.
I'll remind you of that.
You can remind me when you start hearing me talk about Willie Nelson's ball sack. You can be like, Wendolyn.
I will laugh, though. I will laugh.
You will laugh, and then you'll be like,
every time.
Get yourself together.
Get it together.
Get yourself together.
Good to yourself and recognize that, you're doing it now. You're not waiting 10 years. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I like that too.
Yeah. The question I would add to that is, how is this serving me? How is this idea serving me? And I don't mean, and when I ask this question to clients, they'll say, it's not serving me. No, it is. The way you're living life, the decision that you make, it is serving you in some way. If you don't like the way it's serving you, oh, okay, well, you have options. But it's really important to have that insight and ask that question, how is this serving me? So I think that sometimes I have convinced myself that the problem is a lot bigger than it is. And then I can't like do the executive functioning to break it down and to get to the place that I need to be. Other people can do that. It's just too hard for me. Right? Like, let's take my own advice. For example, applying for a visa is one of the hardest tasks I've ever had to do. And I put it off for years because it's so draining. All the tasks, all the things that you have to do. And finally, I was like, why am I convincing myself that it is so difficult and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing when my goal doesn't align with that? So break it down into these steps. I don't have to do it by any certain time. Do the things that I can do. What I cannot do, I ask for help. Or what I think I cannot do, I ask for help. And then I just have to know that it might take me 4 or 5 times longer than somebody else because I'm just not made like that. So I give myself grace and I motivate myself in the way of, this is what you want, Meredith. This is what you have to do to get what you want. And I'm honest with myself. I'm not going to like it. It's going to take me longer than most people. Like I'm going to have to double and triple check. I'm going to have to wait a long time. You have to have patience. So I just tell myself the truth and I give myself grace. You have to just get to that place. If you want something to happen, you tell yourself the story in order to get to the goal. So that's the 1% from me, I guess, for today.
Yeah, we're going to be kinder to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to convince ourselves in good ways. Our motivation is not going to be fear.
No. No. Look for a different way. Look for a different way this week. You never know what's going to come out of these podcasts, Wendolyn. I think that this was something today. I believe that we have created a conversation for you, if not just with yourself, with other people around you. And maybe you're faced with something and you really have to look at, maybe it's created excitement. And I hope that's really what's happened today. It's created excitement in what can be in your life and the story that you've been telling yourself that doesn't need to end in a certain way or doesn't need to continue in this plot, that you actually can change it. So we're so glad you're here. We can't wait to see you next week.
Yeah, have Lord willing and the creek don't rise. We'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks so much for spending time with us. We hope today's conversation gave you something to think about, something practical to try, or maybe just the reminder that you're not alone in what you're walking through. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to support the podcast, one of the best ways you can help is by following or subscribing wherever you listen. And if your podcast platform allows it, leaving a rating or a review really does help more people discover these conversations. If someone came to mind while you were listening, we'd love for you to share this episode with them. You never know how one conversation can make someone feel seen. Remember, you don't have to change everything today. Just focus on the next 1%. We'll see you next time.